Did y'all hear about this? A black doctor's credentials denied by flight attendants. So basically, there was a medical emergency on a plane with a child. So the flight attendants did the overhead page asking for a doctor on board. And this doctor, came forth once he realized that nobody else on the plane was a doctor. Allegedly, there was a child on the plane who was throwing up really bad, hyperemesis. So they called for a doctor to help. When he provided his services and said, "I'm a doctor," he was asked for some form of a medical ID. I've never heard of a medical ID in all my years of being a nurse. And even the doctor was confused. He said he doesn't know what they were talking about, but he was able to provide them with a picture of his badge that clearly stated with his face on it that he was a medical doctor. From what he's saying, the flight attendants still gave him a hard time when he was trying to assess the boy. The flight attendants were like intervening to the point he had to stop them and say, "I have to focus on this patient. You guys can't be doing all of this." When the doctor made a recommendation for them to give the child an antiemetic, which is a medication that helps with nausea, helps with vomiting, do you know the flight attendants refused to give the medication to the child? Now, you have an emergency kit on the plane for a reason. He's throwing up. Why would you not want to give him something to stop him from throwing up? The flight attendants said that they're not giving the medication to the child and they'll continue to monitor the situation. So my thought process was, well, then why did you call for a doctor if you didn't want the doctor to give you his opinion to help this child? The doctor is saying he believed that it was racial. If he didn't look like this, would they have done that to him? Would they have treated him so poorly when he stepped up to offer his services, when in all actuality, he didn't have to say he was a doctor? He could have carried on sitting there. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. Have you guys heard about this story? I think it's absolutely devastating. I know there is a lot of fraud happening in healthcare with people stealing people's licenses. I get it. But he's coming forward. He's telling you the medications to give. He's providing you ID with his face on it, with his name. How would he have known this stuff? I'm not saying people cannot lie, but in that situation, I feel like the flight attendants were completely wrong. Don't forget to like, share this video, and follow.
There was an emergency on a plane, and this doctor jumped up to rush to the patient to help him, only to be stopped by flight attendants.
Asking for a doctor. They're like, if you're a doctor, if there's a doctor on board, please identify yourself. 5 seconds go by, you realize that you're the only doctor on the plane. You take off your seatbelt, you get up, you're excited, you're ready to, this is what you've been training for. And first thing the flight attendant says to you as he comes over, he's like, "Wait, are you a doctor?" He looks at you kind of weird. You're like, yeah, I am. First, he asks again, you're sure you're a doctor? I'm like, yes, I am. Then he goes ahead and asks for a medical ID. I'm like, I don't have a medical ID.
Welcome.
I don't know what that is really. I can give you my NPI number. And then I pulled out my phone and showed him my work ID, which clearly says my name, says medical doctor on it, or MD, and then says doctor in huge letters at the bottom. I see that he's pretty reluctant, but he takes me back to where the flight attendants kind of gather, and I meet his colleague, who also then questions me, "Are you a doctor?" "Well, what kind of doctor are you?" And I'm explaining to her. Then finally I say, "Can we just go talk to the patient? What's happening?" I go and talk to this 6-year-old boy and his mom, who the kid had been vomiting the whole flight. And I ask all the questions that I need to ask. And I determined that, this is not medically urgent, but I think that this child could benefit from an antiemetic, something to help him stop with the nausea and vomiting. Mind you, when I'm interviewing the patient or talking to the patient and his mom, the flight attendant is jumping in each time, telling me, no, I don't, this is what's going on, interjecting and telling me her own plan, telling me how to ask questions to this specific patient, and I am taken aback. I look back at her and I say, "Can I just talk to the patient, please?" She lets me finish. Then after we're done, we do our chat. I do a physical exam, reassure the mom. We go to the back where we were initially, and I tell them, "Hey, this is what's happening. This is what I think is going on. I think this patient he could benefit from an antiemetic." They have their medicine lockbox, but they have to break the box open. And Tell me why I say I think this kid needs this, and the flight attendant tells me, you know what? No, he doesn't. We'll just wait to see if XYZ happens again, and then we can choose to give it to him. Then I tell her, well, we're supposed to give it to him to prevent XYZ. Mind you, this is a flight attendant telling me how to do my job, right? I would never tell this individual how to be a flight attendant. The main thing was that she was very hesitant to break open that box because she's like, well, we're going to need a lot of information from you. We can't assure that you're a physician. Even though, again, I showed you my ID on my phone that says I'm a doctor. I willingly gave you all my information. What else could you ask for me? Ultimately, I think a big reason why they didn't break into things, they didn't believe me. They said, well, it's very complicated. If you had the medical ID, it would be easier. But I guarantee you, if it was someone else that looked not like me, they would have opened it.
All right, well, y'all see it right there. I want to know what y'all think. Were they wrong for that? And if something happened to that patient, would they have been liable? Let's go.
Sometimes you just gotta call it how you see it, and some things are just blatantly racist when it shouldn't be. Let's talk about it. So I came across this story regarding a black doctor who was on a flight and attempting to assist a patient that was in need. However, the flight attendants chose this time to be racist and question his credentials. Instead of course, prioritizing the patient, they decided to try to figure out whether he was a real doctor and tried to go against the advice that he was giving. Although proved he was an MD, he showed them his badge and everything from his actual job, and they still felt like that was not enough. Now, again, I don't like to take it to the race thing, but let's keep it 100. If it was somebody else, they would not have questioned it, and they definitely would have showed more respect. I feel like in this day and age, I know that things are super divided, but it should not be. As advanced as we should be as people, this type of shit should not be tolerated at all whatsoever.
All right, y'all. So have y'all saw the viral story of the doctor on a flight? Huh? Well, this doctor on a flight realizes that he's the only doctor on the flight because a flight attendant came out and was asking for a doctor on this flight, right? Hold on. So he looks around and he's the only doctor on the flight. So he's like, I'm a doctor. Well, they proceed to ask him all these questions for ID and this and that and the other. And he's like, well, I don't know what kind of ID you're talking about, but I can show you some number, I guess, that doctors have. And he also showed a picture of like his badge. And he's like, it says doctor in bold letters on that badge, right? Right. Now, just a little context clue here. This doctor was a brown doctor. Really brown doctor. And so anyway, the doctor proceeds to go to the back where he was again asked a million questions. And to make this long story short, he said it was a very unpleasant, whole experience. Even when they took him to the patient, you had the flight attendants like butting in, trying to tell him what he should be asking the patient and what he should do. So in this video, the doctor pretty much describes where he said if I didn't look the way I do, I know they wouldn't have asked any of these questions and I wouldn't have been treated that way, right? Well, the doctor doesn't mention what flight he was on. He doesn't even describe or say anything about the attendants or if they were male, female, whatever. So I got questions, doctor. What flight were you on? What flight? Heading where? Give us some clues. Because you know what? I am so sick of this. But anyway, y'all put your comments in the comment section. And y'all let me know what flight he was on. TikTok, do your job. Let's go. All right. Y'all have a good old productive day.
So Dr. Jordan is on a flight minding his business. And they say, is there a doctor on board? He sits, he waits, because he wants to see who else is going to volunteer. He happened to be the only doctor. So he says, me, I'm the doctor, I'm on board. They look at him. You're the doctor? Why would they ask that? Okay? Yes, I'm the doctor. What are your credentials? Let me see this, let me see that. He's logging into systems. He's showing ID badges. He's doing all of this stuff. He gets to the patient. It's a little boy who has vomiting and nausea. They're standing behind him acting like they're the doctors. He's like, hey, hold up. I'm the one with the MD behind my name. Chillax. So he determines that it's not anything serious with the child and they just need something to calm their nausea. And the flight attendants go to like break open the medical box and they decide, no, he doesn't need that. And says, if it happens again, then we will give it to him. Honey, same flight, something happens again, different set of flight attendants, and they too are questioning him, questioning his credentials, questioning his expertise. Honey, at this point, you know why they questioned his credentials and if he was a doctor. Yeah. Okay? At this point, like, America is exhausting. And I just feel as though Black Americans just need to sit down. Sit down and let them figure it out. Use your medical credentials on people who look like you. Use your things Black people on for your people. Because they don't appreciate us, nor do they think that we can be anything great. They literally sat there and questioned that man while there was a medical emergency because he was a Black man, and they can't fathom that a Black man is a doctor. And this isn't just him. It happened to someone else, Tamika, on a Delta flight, and they questioned her credentials, and then a white person came over and handled the medical situation. They didn't question his credentials. So it's crazy how in this country, as a white person, you can literally walk in some shit, walk confidently and say, yeah, I am that, and they won't question it. But a Black person, fully credentialed, not lying in anything, probably the only person that can save the motherfucker, and you're going to sit there and interrogate the motherfucker like they just stole from the fucking corner store before allowing them to go assist. Stand down. Stand down. Because we need to, like, just how y'all wanted to boycott the Africans, just how, we need to make America feel it. And if you don't agree with that message, I don't give a fuck. Go sit down and go sit over there with them, because when everything hits the fan, we're going to leave a lot of y'all motherfuckers behind. A lot of y'all Black asses need to be left the fuck behind with the enemy in the enemy's camp. And then let that bitch burn, and you can burn in it too, bitch.
There's a Black doctor on here who's telling about his experience about being on a flight and having a medical emergency, and them saying, is there a doctor? He stands up, he says, I'm a doctor. They make him go through the whole shebang to prove that he's a doctor. We all know fucking why they did that. We do.
A Black man is on a flight. He hears over the intercom, are there any doctors on board? Nobody else gets up. So 5 seconds later, he decides, okay, I'll get up. I'm the only doctor on board. The first flight attendant that he comes into contact with says, are you the doctor? He goes, yes. She asks for his medical ID. He's on a flight, probably somewhere going on vacation. He doesn't have his medical ID, but he has it over his phone, and he also has the NPI number or NPL number. I can't remember which one it was, but that's used to identify doctors. So then he's taken back to where the flight attendants meet. Another flight attendant questions him and his credentials, and eventually he just had enough of the questioning, and he said, okay, can we, see the patient? Can I know what's going on? So then he meets a 6-year-old boy and his mom who have been vomiting, and he deems it not to be a medical emergency, but that the child could use something to stop the nausea. So they get the medical kit. Mind you, as he's talking to this 6-year-old and the mom, the flight attendant is literally barging in and questioning everything that he says. And, he kind of gets a weird feel from it, as well as the fact that they were not really believing him when he said he was a doctor in the first place. His question was, if I looked different in any way, shape, or form, would you have questioned me so much before I, saw this patient that was having this medical emergency? Or would you have just let me talk to the patient?
Brothers and sisters, today we need to have a serious conversation. A conversation about life, dignity, and the ongoing struggles Black professionals face even after working so hard to prove themselves. Recently, there was a situation on a flight where a Black male doctor tried to step in and save a passenger who was sick. But instead of being welcomed, his credentials were doubted. The flight attendants refused to believe that he was truly a doctor. Now let's unpack what happened here. Because this isn't just about one man, it's about a larger pattern that affects our people across the diaspora. whether you are in America, the Caribbean, Africa, or anywhere in the world. On this particular flight, a passenger began to feel unwell. Naturally, the flight attendants asked if there was a doctor on board. A black man who is a licensed physician stepped forward. He had the skills, the training, and the experience to help. But instead of being allowed to do his job, the crew doubted him. They asked for proof, and even when he showed identification, his credentials were dismissed. Think about that, brothers and sisters. In a life or death moment, help was delayed because of prejudice. Because someone couldn't imagine that a black man could truly be a doctor. This isn't new. For centuries, black excellence has been questioned and doubted. Whether it's in medicine, law, engineering, or any professional field, there has always been this shadow of doubt cast on our people. During slavery, black people were thought incapable of higher reasoning. In the Jim Crow era, our intellectual abilities were mocked. Even today in the 21st century, after generations of proving our brilliance, our credentials are still questions. And this isn't limited to America. Across the diaspora, whether in Africa, whether doctors are living for opportunities abroad, or in the Caribbean where healthcare workers are underappreciated, our professionalism is constantly undervalued. This situation is about more than just one doctor being disrespected. It's about systemic bias. When people imagine a doctor, too often they imagine a white male in a lab coat. That image has been reinforced by media, movies, textbook, and history. So when a black man stands up and says, "I'm a doctor," he's met with skepticism instead of respect. This is the power of stereotypes. They don't just influence how people see us, they literally put lives at risk. In this case, a sick passenger could have suffered or even died because help was delayed. That's the danger of unconscious bias. Let's not forget the journey it takes to become a doctor. Medical school, years of study, sleepless nights, mountains of debt, and endless training. For a black man to reach that level, he has had to overcome not just the academic hurdles, but also the racial barriers. Every black doctor rather represents resilience. He represents breaking cycles and setting new standards. So when his credentials are denied, it's not just an insult to him, it's an insult to the entire community that supported him, the ancestors who fought for education, and the young black children who dream of following in his footsteps. Brothers and sisters, this story connects to us all. Whether you are African, African American, Jamaican, Haitian, Nigerian, Ghanaian, or from anywhere in the diaspora, the struggle is shared. We fight the same battles in different places. African doctors in Europe face discrimination in hiring Caribbean doctors in America, often have their accent mocked. African American doctors are often assumed to be nurses, assistants, or students instead of full physicians. This isn't just one isolated event on a plane. It's a global pattern of undervaluing black professionals. So, what can we learn from this? First, we must understand implicit bias. These are unconscious attitudes or stereotypes that affect behavior. Many people don't even realize they carry these biases, but their actions show it. Second, we must see how racism can be subtle, not just overt. Nobody on that flight said, "We don't believe you because you're black," but the hesitation, the doubt, and the need for extra proof, all of it pointed to the same underlying issues. Finally, we must understand the importance of representation. When young black children see black doctors, lawyers, engineers, and pilots, it reshapes what they believe is possible. But when authority figures doubt those professionals, it damages that progress. Brothers and sisters, we cannot ignore these stories. We must highlight them, discuss them, and challenge them, because silence only protects the system. We need to uplift and celebrate black excellence wherever it appears. We need to remind the world that black doctors, engineers, scientists, and leaders are not exceptions. They are proof of what we've always been capable of when given opportunity. So next time you hear of a story like this, remember, It's not just about one doctor on one flight. It's about a much larger struggle, but it's also about resilience, brilliance, and the undeniable truth that our people continue to rise despite every obstacle. Brothers and sisters, let us carry this lesson forward. Never let anyone make you doubt your worth, your intelligence, or your achievements because of your credentials, whether written on paper or carved in history, are valid, and no prejudice can erase that. Thanks for watching, and if it's your first time here, kindly subscribe, comment, like, and share this video. See you in the next episode. Goodbye.